Episode number 149 with Mark Stanwyck, the Bitcoin guy. Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton.
And this is Mike Snyderman.
And we have a guest for you today, long-awaited, Mark Stanwyck, the Bitcoin guy. We just interviewed him, and this was a good one, Mike. I'm excited. I'm ready to buy some more altcoin. This is pretty cool.
Is that what you took out of this interview, Steve?
I see butterflies and rainbows. What do you see? Like storm clouds and lightning? What's going on? Well,
I mean, even if someone's head is shoved up their ass, doesn't mean they don't have like one ear sticking out. Like, still listen a little bit. You know?
This was good.
No, it's good. It's very very informative. But like I said, I think it's with so many of us, including myself and you, are in such a manic high over Bitcoin. And I kind of, listen to the interviews. I kind of tried to steer it towards caution a little bit, and Mark was very much of that mindset. So I think it's good to hear some of that too.
It is, yeah. Especially for the security thing. I can't believe I've had this ledger forever now, and I haven't even put the stuff on it. That's just dumb. But
anyways,
I've got one now. So I have no excuse.
It's definitely a good interview. But Steve, let's talk about what you've been up to here last week too. You've been a busy boy.
I have, yes. We've had a bunch of fires going on, all in Southern California. One was really close to my house. About a week ago, I'd been working so much because we'd just been busy. I got sick, and I went to sleep kind of early, and I got woken up by a call on my phone. Didn't recognize the number. I don't know what made me answer it, but I did, and it says you are it was a reverse 911 call. So what that is they put out mass phone calls to a certain area to inform people of a tsunami or whatever. In this case, it was a brush fire. And they said, you're in an evacuation 1 area. You need to evacuate your home immediately. And then it hung up. And I'm like, well, this is worth getting up for. So I threw on my boxers and walked to my kitchen window. And the entire hillside out my kitchen window is on fire, and there's about a 40-mile-an-hour wind blowing towards the house. And I'm like, wow, all right. So I got my pants on, packed up my computer, my phone, and about 3 days' worth of clothes and my shave kit, and walked out to my car, kind of looked back at the house, and I'm like, this could be the last time I ever see this place. And I was surprisingly calm, but I got in my car and I thought, okay, I do this for a living. I'm going to go scope out the fire line and see what my odds are. And so I drove the car around the fire line, and then I realized
what my odds are.
Well, the odds of the house, I mean,
okay.
it's 100%. It's gone,
a 53% chance of living through this.
Right. So I drove the fire line, and I realized I still had some time. I figured I had about 2 or 3 hours before I needed to make a decision. So I went back. I mean, keep in mind, I'm getting over the flu, and, it's in its deep stages right now to where, like, after I sleep through the night, I should slowly start getting better. So I went back. I set my alarm for like 2 hours, woke back up. I'm not sure how I was able to sleep when a fire was coming and I knew the wind was blowing that much, but I was able to. Got up about 3 o'clock, drove the fire line again. And I watched, when you and I started this podcast, the apartment that I was recording in, I watched that entire complex, all 200 units, go up in flames. It was surreal, because it's just probably half a mile from my house. And, that was a trip. The whole thing is just down to concrete now and an empty pool. That was a trip. So I went back, and I saw along this one street, the main thoroughfare in the town I live, there was a bunch of fire engines set up, hooked up to hydrants, and they had lines going up the hill and everything, and I knew it wasn't going to get past them. So I was able to get a little bit of rest that night, and then I basically started working after that. and I've had a couple days off sprinkled here and there, but not very many. There may or may not be a podcast next week as well. That's why there wasn't one the week before, or last week. I might get called out on a strike team and be gone until after Christmas. So I don't know. We'll see. Looking right now, it looks like there's probably an 80% chance that I'll be, that I won't. But this morning it was about, a 90% chance that I'm going. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It looks like the winds have died down and it's starting to slowly die down. But the total acreage was about 250,000 acres, which last I checked, I think was the 4th or 5th biggest fire in California recorded history. So
wow.
It's a big one.
Can you refuse to go on a strike team and say, hey, I'm a lover, not a fighter. I don't fight fires.
I put incense in them. Then it smells good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a trip.
Well, I had to evacuate my house, too. It was under evacuation. I think I told you that story, but I'm not sure if I shared it with the...
Yeah, you've got one down by where you're at.
Yeah, I went to bed. I went to, sleeping. I had my alarm set, thankfully. I woke up around 11:30 in the morning. And all of a sudden, I'm like, can kind of smell something. I go outside, and there's huge black smoke coming from the back. There's actually ashes. I can feel the heat, like the ashes are, it was pretty close. It was like 5 miles away and in a high wind. So it was, right there pretty much. So I immediately started packing my car. I put, I took some clothes pretty much in my computers and my photo albums. I dug through boxes and make sure I got my photo albums. And that was it. But yeah. I'm not sure how many acres we had. I want to say we had 3,000 acres or something. I mean, very small compared to what's going on in the rest of California. But
yeah, it's kind of surreal when you drive away from your house, huh? You're like, I may never see any of this again.
Yeah. At first, I was, just taking a precaution, but then eventually, pretty soon thereafter, there wasn't actually, when I left, there wasn't even an evacuation order in place. I'm just like, I'm getting out of here. Yep.
Okay.
Of course, my mind, Steve, that things are gonna go bad. I can already smell my flesh in the back of my mind.
You wouldn't have been able to go back to sleep after that?
No.
No.
So, yeah. So the storm, the fire we were right in line for it, so it did advance a little bit in my direction. I don't know how close it was actually, but yeah. Anyways.
Yeah,
some excitement.
It's very exciting being on fires like that. It's, especially in those high winds, there's nothing you're going to do as a fireman to stop the fire. All you can really do is try to prepare the houses that are in the way to have the best chance of surviving that you can. Sometimes you can stick around when the fire's coming through and you can kind of fight through it. And other times it's going so fast and hot, you can't. And it's, it's terrible when someone loses their house, but from like a work standpoint, what I do, it's very dangerous. I mean, we lost a guy today. He gave his life doing this, but it's extremely exciting. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Fire is fascinating. It really is. I've been fascinated with it since I was a little kid. I mean, the way you can, anything from as simple as starting a campfire, I've always been fascinated with, the way the flame burns and you can influence it and make it bend in certain directions and how to put it out. Like using the most minimal amount of water to put out a giant fire, kind of putting it in at the base and then it turns to steam and it goes and puts the flames out up ahead. And then you can even use fire to put out fire. So in like a wildland fire, if you have a hill and at the bottom of the hill, you have a house and the whole rest of the hill going all the way up to the peak, you have nothing but grass. Well, if the fire is at the top of the hill and it's slowly burning its way down, you can start a fire at the bottom of the hill, burn out all that grass, and you can save the house. It's exciting. It's fun. And I guess that's why I do this for a living.
You're making me nervous, dude, because like many of the most notorious arsonists, it's really not a surprise, are firemen.
Oh, there's one guy that really gave us a bad name. His name was John Orr. He worked for Glendale. This guy was an inspector, and he would go to these training classes up and down California. And so he'd have a seminar or whatever up in Sacramento, and then he would drive back down to Glendale on his way home, and he would start fires in mattress stores. And he got very efficient at it.
Quickly, Forensic Files, if someone is a fan of the show. It was one of my favorite shows. They did something on this guy, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he would take a cigarette and he would light it, and he would put a whole bunch of those wooden matchsticks around it with a couple of rubber bands, and he'd toss it in a sofa, and then he'd basically go stand outside the furniture store and wait for the next 15 minutes until the thing caught on fire, and then he'd go on to the next one. And this went on for years. Nobody had any idea that he did it. I talked to guys that worked with him, and they were like, "Man, we had no idea."
But it wasn't just furniture stores. Yeah, this guy was houses. I think he's considered. This might be the guy, if I'm thinking right. Let me see. Who's like the most prolific fire starter ever? One of them. But if you're talking about, he went a long time. But they really interviewed this one cop who said, or maybe who said he knew it was an arson investigator.
He was just too good.
Yeah, and like you said, they put it together that a lot of these fires occurred near arson investigator conferences, too.
Yeah.
So, but if I remember, I think he got caught. It's one of those things where they actually found the matchbook with like a partial thumbprint. One of those things.
Okay.
Where all the crimes he does, it's one of those things. Ted Bundy, all these murders, and the only physical evidence they had was the bite marks from the one woman kind of thing, But
yeah, it's got to be the same guy. It's got to be John Orr.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I think it is, but I think there's a couple other that are.
There could be. I mean, I see them all the time at work. I mean, we go on a lot of little trash fires and dumpster fires. I would say 90% of those are not by accident, and they're basically just juvenile kids that are getting their start. And I remember when I was a rookie, we had one. He started with dumpsters, and then he graduated to carports. And in 6 months, he must have destroyed 100 cars. And he got good at lighting carports off. And then all of a sudden, it went away. Wow. We never caught him. He either moved or he certainly didn't stop. I can guarantee that. They don't stop. They just keep going until they get caught. And some of these guys that, for whatever reason, they never get caught, and they graduate to fires like we're having now, and they estimate 50% of those wildland fires are by accident. They're not just guys throwing cigarettes out the window. They're someone that, when I was working up in Northern California, this was back in 2000, we had a couple of interesting cases. One in particular was a guy that worked for, it was like Parks and Rec or something. He was, like landscaping for, city parks, something like that. He would put gasoline in a super soaker and use a lighter and start it that way. It left no evidence because, it's not like he was tossing a road flare out the window or something, and then it would leave the charred up stuff. It was just like a fire just appeared out of nowhere. And that had been going on for years, and they caught him while I was working up there. It was impressive. I'd been to a couple of those fires, and I remember the investigators getting there, and they're like, it's like somebody just got out with a lighter and started it. There's no cigarette, there's no evidence, there's no nothing, But whoever did it knew how to start them because they were starting them in these canyons and, in these areas where if you're a fireman, you can recognize where it would burn very good and where it wouldn't. Yeah. Yeah,
it's kind of funny you talk about the juveniles. The juveniles doing that too. I think, arson, teenagers who do arson can be I think it's also a predictor of serious crimes. Like rape, like breaking B&E with rape and stuff like that. You not only just want to destroy the house, you want to destroy the people on the inside or something. I mean, I think I remember reading something about that too.
Yeah, I know I've read correlations. I haven't read them about arsonists, but I know with serial killers, it's, things like, injuring animals,
Right.
killing animals, wetting the bed, stuff like that. That just seems kind of random, but when you put it all together, it's like,
Right.
that kind of makes sense.
But yeah, I think it's like an escalating thing. You will like set a little fire at someone's house before you would actually break in the window and go inside, kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, the kids that I see, they start out with usually bathroom trash cans. Then they'll bring things out to the backyard and just randomly set clothes on fire on the concrete. Then they graduate to little trash can fires. Then they go to the big 2 and 4 yard dumpster fires. Then they start going to dumpster fires that are up against a structure, trying to get the eaves on fire and like that. And then they usually graduate to cars, carports, and it kind of goes up from there. But you can catch them when they're young.
Yeah.
And we'll report them to our fire prevention bureau where they can get in a juvenile fire setter program. But it's kind of a strange sickness. But
a very strange one. I went to the Wikipedia for John Orr here. They say they think he set 2,000 fires between 1984 and 1991. And they said after he was arrested, the number of brush fires in the areas decreased by 90%. So he was
all that from one guy.
He was very busy. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw.
Yeah, that guy. He definitely gave us a bad name. That's for sure. But
I don't know if you saw my one recent tweet, Steve. I said if anyone sees me playing a tournament before June 1st.
Yes.
I mean,
you'll give them a 10% free roll in your main event.
Yeah, I fired 2 bricks up into the, the circuit main up there, $3,300. Just getting killed in cash. We talked about with Mark that I locked up a profit with Bitcoin by selling off a bunch of it because I've had such a horrible stretch. I had to, which is kind of killing me too. On Twitter, I also gave my Litecoin bad beat speech, which I sold 110 of them, Steve, for $53 a month ago.
Oh,
did I tell you that?
No.
That's only like $35,000 I lost over a month. But anyways, I'm down over 40K now this year in my poker tournaments, and it's been a bad year. But anyways, that's the only way I can think to incentivize that I do not play any till Vegas, which I still might not even go to. Is that giving someone a 10% for a main event's that's not something I want to give away, Steve. So
yes.
I am fucking done with that shit.
Oh man. Oh, we got a question from Marcus on Twitter, at Ghostmaster75. I almost told him, but I thought, no, I'm going to save it for the podcast. He says, the podcast is awesome, especially the Helmuth episode. Thank you, Marcus. Can you tell me the name of the title song? 2 question marks. Thanks. !
Jeez, I forget. Is it Super? No, it's I'm Super, right? Or Super.
Super.
And the group that's my sister's group. I remember my sister had 2.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd have a little quicker answer than this, considering it's your sister. But
I'm sorry, I'm having. She had one. She's had like 3 different bands. Like one was called Fracca Fracca, and geez, Steve, what's the band here? Hold on a second. I might have to cheat and go to my iTunes. Their music is actually good, by the way.
It is, yeah. I mean,
it's funny because I was meaning to ask you, Steve. I think because you only have about 10 seconds of the song at the beginning. I was going to suggest you change the intro a little bit, where you get a little more of the song, because I think it's a good one.
I think we fade out at I've got X-ray specs for eyes. I like that one.
Kind of a good
it
point,
fits into poker,
Yeah, I think it's a good song though. Oh, that's Cops and Robbers, right?
Cops and Robbers. That's what it was. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know where you could find them. If you Google them, I'm sure they've got some of their stuff you could probably find. My sister's pretty much a full-time mom, but she had some. It's just kind of fun. All the people in New York are so hip. Everybody there is like in a band or doing something cool, working on a book. I don't know. I like that part of the country for sure. Yeah. I never really had the experience of living in a big city. I kind of would like that city, but no. I'm such a simple country boy, But yeah, hopefully I'm going to set some. Is it too early to talk about New Year's resolutions, Steve?
No, I think this is a very appropriate time.
I want to put it up pretty high. I want to get 2,000 hours of live cash this year, and I want to make $100,000.
That's a good goal.
Which means, first of all, that means I got to play less tournaments, which is what I should be doing anyways. And I got to get better cash. I got to study and put the hours in. So that's my goal for the year. So put in
How many hours did you have this year?
of live cash. I think so. I have about 1,200 hours this year.
Okay, so 2,000 is doable.
And yeah, and probably 500 hours playing tournaments. And so to do that, I might have to. I really enjoy the Sunday grind. So I don't know if I can give up the Sunday online grind. But if I was trying to make 2,000 a year, yeah, 2,000 is really not that much because I play poker 50 hours a week, probably. I also have to get my win rate higher because this year I'm not making enough an hour to. I wouldn't make 100,000 with 2,000 hours. So those are the two things I need to do, Steve. So we'll see. Longer hours and more discipline at the table, more studying at the table, et cetera.
Well, if you did the Sunday grind and you did live cash, but you only played online tournaments on Sunday.
Yeah, I still could probably do the 2,000 hours.
Well, I'm thinking, would it be more realistic to do 1,600 hours cash and then like 400 Sunday?
Right.
2,000 total, just kind of break it. You're still doing 400 more hours of at the physical tables, but you still get to play your Sunday grind,
Right. Well, in my mind, the $50 an hour is what a real poker pro should make. So I think I can make that in cash. Online, I still don't know. I think it's probably, I don't know, just tournaments are. I mean, I've never gone more than a year without having like at least one like month where I make $30,000 kind of thing. So it probably does average out to like $50 an hour. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, Steve, but I mean, I want to lose weight and find a woman and do a lot of other stuff too, But just poker wise, really, Dusty Schmidt, your man. Treat it like a business. Yeah. I've got some financial targets I need to meet, and to do that, that means I got to get better. That probably means just the simple thing. I can just watch 5 or 6 hours of videos a week. An hour in the morning is not going to kill me. That's listen to my Elliot Roe and game selection.
Yeah, I watch at least 5 videos a week from TPE. They're good. They got one on there now that's like totally pertinent to me. Matthew Hunt just put one up, and he's playing on WSOP.com in Nevada where they don't allow HUDs. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly what PokerMania does. Like, it's the same pool of players. It was great. It was a good series. Good series. I've actually got a couple of hands here. I wanted to get your opinion on. Ironically, they're Omaha. It's I was playing I've been playing on PokerMania quite a bit, and there was they put tournaments up every hour, and this block of tournaments was PLO, and then I had to wait another hour for Hold'em tournament. So I was like, I'll play a little PLO. So our blind levels here. I should probably say that this strategy section is brought to you by Tournament Poker Edge. You like money? I like money. Let's win some money, people. Let's take your game to the next level. Join Tournament Poker Edge and start playing like a professional. Watch videos, post hands through the forum, and get responses from more experienced players who have been there and have the answers. Stop playing in a fog and start playing smart. Tournament poker is one of the fastest evolving games there is. It's always changing, bet sizing, everyone was min raising, now they're back to 3xing, donk betting was invented. People have 5-bet bluffing ranges. I didn't even know what that was a few years ago. You have to stay on top of it or you're going to get left in the dust. When you join, use the code HUP month, HUP quarter, or HUP year. SYSC, man. Save yourself some cash. Study and learn with other people that are just like us. It'll be the best thing you've ever done for your tournament game. I guarantee it. Okay.
Speaking of Steve, I think people would be like rather trapped in a 600-mile-per-hour windstorm than listen to us talk about Omaha, but whatever. I mean, you and
well, considering you just won a ring, and I figured I'd like to pick your brain on this. I think these couple of hands here are more like theory than they are strategy, but I don't know. Tell me what you think. Okay, I'm in the small blind. Blind levels now, this is the first level. Blind levels are 25-25. We're 8-handed. Middle position limps, cutoff limps, button limps, and then we're in the small blind, and we've got 2, 4, 5, 6, 3 spades, 1 diamond. So we check. Now, the thing about Omaha here is you have to play 2 of the cards in your hand, and you have to play 3 on the board. And this one is high-low.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's PLO 8. So basically, like the nut low would be ace 2, 3, 4, 6, right?
Ace 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 cards.
Oh, it's ace 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. But to get a qualifying low hand, it's got to be 5 cards, 8 and below.
I believe so.
Okay. All right. It gets to... I check, bid buying checks. We go to a flop. There's 125 in the pot. Effective stacks are like 4K. We've got 4,500, but we're one of the bigger ones. So we have oodles of big blinds. Then the flop is 7, 5, 3. And again, we've got 2, 4, 5, 6. So it took me a while to realize that I flopped the nuts. I've got 6, 4 for the straight. Okay, so I got 3, 4.
I'm sorry.
5, 6.
Is it a rainbow flop or no?
Two-tone. It's got 2 diamonds.
Okay.
We have 1 diamond, so we got no. We can't get a flush, but we do have a blocker to the flush. And it's on us. The pot's 125. When you flop the nuts, are you just trying to pile as much money because every card is going to be worse no matter what it is?
Yeah, your hand can improve here, right?
Right.
And there's a bunch of cards where people can draw to a bigger straight, flush, full houses. I don't see, like you said, you got the nuts. I don't see how betting. But it's an important thing, I think, to realize, too. I think any low draw where you don't have an ace is probably pretty useless.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So you're only playing for half the pot here.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I mean, of course, the ace could come on the turn. And then do you have the wheel if the ace comes on the turn?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do, because I got 2, 4.
So that's not meaningless. Just because I'm ignorant at the game, I don't see how betting here is a mistake, though.
Okay. All right.
This would be a spot. They say there's spots like in Omaha where you have to fold the nuts, though, where if you bet someone called and there's a raise and a re-raise, I think you're supposed to fold. Okay. Because you could be drawing dead or near dead for low, and then the high, technically someone could have the 4, 6 and 2 diamonds.
Yeah.
So you could be kind of drawing, you've got the nuts and you could be, half drawing dead sort of thing.
Okay.
So I guess bet, and then I would just be flatting a re-raise probably. I don't know.
Okay. I bet out pot. I bet 125. Big blind folds, middle position folds. Cutoff calls 125, and the button folds. So we go to the turn heads up.
Okay.
375 in the pot, and the turn is the queen of clubs. Probably the best card in the deck. Either the queen, king of clubs, maybe jack of clubs. So the board now is 7-5-3 queen. There's 2 diamonds out there, and we got 2, 4, 5, 6 for the nut straight.
And a low too.
Oh, you're right, and a low as well.
Not the nut low or anything, but yeah.
Pot again?
Pot again, yeah.
Okay, I pot again, he calls. And now the river is the 3 of diamonds, pairing the board, and now there's 3 diamonds out there. And we're first to act. Pot's 1125. We've got effectively about 3,500 in our stacks.
Yeah, funny. I'm trying to think of what Alex would say. We can't even mention Alex's name, though, right? Hasn't he disowned us?
He doesn't want his full name listed in the
right.
In the Google search.
Like
he's a teacher now, so the students are Googling him. So we could mention him by name and everything, but when we do future episodes with him, we got to put Alex V, so that Alex Venosa doesn't come up as a Google.
It's one of the best things that ever happened to this putz, let's be honest.
I didn't realize we're so damn popular. You type in his name in Google, and we're the first thing that comes up.
Yeah, well, he's led an eventful life here, obviously.
Yes.
I know if I could just give a tournament theory thing here beyond. I mean, it's early and it's not going to cost us a lot to check call here, because he could have a full house and we could still be chopping it, right? Because we have a low.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe we're check calling for that reason, but check folding. You're going to get off, especially in your average, $300, $500, $1,000 tournament where so many people are no limit hold'em players and just don't know how to play the game. And just preserving your stack is so important, because when you get good hands, you're going to get paid remarkably frequently. So just calling when you're second best and is just, really bad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, do you bet for value here? I don't think so. I mean, if you bet and he fucking calls with pocket aces here, it's horrible. But maybe some players do.
It's certainly a bet fold, right? If you are going to bet.
I think so. I was going to say bet. Yeah. If you bet and you raise, it's a bet fold, yeah. I mean, if the guy's bluffing, good for him. Yeah, it'll be interesting in the split pot games here, I guess. If you have either the high or the low absolutely locked in, you just keep pumping it up and try to convince the other person they're going to get quartered. In best case scenario for them. But, yeah, I'm check evaluating. I'm checking, hoping for a check back. But I think check fold is against your average player is probably good. Because if you check, I mean, I don't even know if they're betting a flush here when the board pairs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'd probably check fold is my first instinct here. But maybe for the split pot game, I don't know. I mean, how long do we have the low here?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. We're blocking some of the low combinations that he could have, obviously.
That's another cool thing. We got the 6, we got the 4, we got the deuce. We're kind of blocking the hell out of it. My plan was to check call. I thought bet fold was bad. And then I thought check folding was... I don't know. I didn't know. I figured I would check call. And the most in the pot limit game, the most he can bet is pot there. And I was debating. I'm like, okay, if he bets pot, it's more likely a bluff, so I'm more likely to call. If he does like a third or half pot, maybe I can actually fold this. And then I thought, I'll just check here and kind of evaluate, see what his timing is, and maybe that'll give me some kind of clue. But I didn't plan on folding the river.
I think.
Anyways, go ahead.
I was just gonna, if we go to, it's kind of funny talking about Mike Pearson, who we still hope to have in the show here sometime soon.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he texted me back, so he'll do it.
Oh, okay.
We just got to set it up.
But he was talking about, my win here. I'm like, I don't know how to. He was he was in another poker tournament, and he gave somebody advice. He's like, don't play poker, play tournament. So I guess that I have some aptitude to do that here. But here, like I say, it's in poker in general, but in tournaments especially, the casual and average players, their biggest leak is not that they're bluffing too much, is that they're calling too much. So
Yeah.
you want to exploit that weakness that players have here. So here, if you're check calling, he's not bluffing that often. But when you got the nuts, he's calling too often. You know what I mean? So that's what you want to chips, save your chips for. But
Okay.
what did you do? Decide upon? You decided to check call.
I decided to check call. After you say that, maybe you're right. Maybe this is like bet half pot and then fold to any other action. But I check. He checks behind, and I'm not sure why, but he had Jack 7-4. So he had a pair of sevens. Well, he had pocket jacks basically. I don't know why he called the turn. Maybe that's why this is on Poker Mania. I don't know. I swear to God, dude, people are making so much money over Bitcoin. I think they're just like, oh, I'll play poker.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you have to. We're talking about people call too much. That means you got to value bet a little thinner. So maybe this is supposed to be an easy value bet. I don't know. Yeah, because I was, talking some with the one guy I met. You met him too, Paul, in Lake Tahoe, talking about, and he was just talking about some of the hands he played, and he's like, somebody called him down with like a queen high board, called him with pocket eights. He went pot, 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 with like the absolute nuts. And the guy's falling down with second pair. So maybe you can value bet a hand like this. I think you're value owning yourself quite frequently, or being maybe sometimes put in a tough spot where you have to fold, where you're getting half the pot, But if you bet here, you got to fold, I think, for sure. So that's the full pot for you, right?
The full pot? What do you mean?
You had the high and the low, correct?
Yeah, I got the full pot.
Okay, just double checking here.
Yeah. I got one other one, and I think this one's also a little theory based. Same level, first level, so it's 25. UTG limps 25, UTG 1 limps 25, middle position 1 limps 25, middle position 2. So basically everyone limps to me, and I'm in the cutoff, and I've got queen, 9-5 double suited.
Okay.
What are you doing here?
I think it's just a call, but I got on this poker site. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe this is the hold'em in me, but I see pocket queens, and I'm like,
no, it's not that strong, even double suited.
Okay.
You're limited straight possibilities. If you got queen, 10-9, that changes things dramatically.
Okay, but queen, 9-5, I can't even get the low. I'm only
especially in the game, it's just not that strong a hand. You're trying to hit your set. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe for that reason, depending on the table, maybe it works better as a raise because it really doesn't have that much value post flop. If you think people are going to be very weak play, if you're going to get heads up, but more likely in this kind of tournament, you raise and everybody calls.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah, I potted it to 375, and out of 8 players, 2 folded. So we go to the flop 6-handed. I'm like, all right, well, that didn't work.
No, that's not a good hand. I mean, under the gun, even in PLO, I fold that hand maybe.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, you gotta. Anyone switching to PLO, the first thing they should is look at hand opening ranges. What's an opening hand?
Yeah.
That would be
okay.
If you don't get that right, then you just can't win.
Yeah, then you're just pissing money away.
Like I said, it is double suited, but flushes aren't super great in PLO. Only nut flushes, too. So
yeah,
especially
okay.
It's kind of just when you talk just quickly on you raising everyone calling. I feel like I'm putting some hours in at 2-3. And when everybody's limping, that feels like that should be the play. You raise it big. So it's like $3, $3, and I'm in the cutoff with ace-9 suited. And I'm ahead of each of their individual ranges for sure. And so I make it 30. And then it seems like you always get like 3 callers or something. So now you got a bloated pot. And people don't like to fold most flops, so at lower levels, which this is. But so 6-way to a flop with all sorts of chips in there.
Yeah. Yeah, 6-way to a flop. We're queen, 9-5, double suited. The total pot is 23-25, and the flop is ace, 8, queen.
Ace.
Rainbow.
Ace, queen, 8, yeah.
Ace, queen, 8. And so we got a set of queens. Flop the second nuts. Checks all the way around to the guy to my right, and into 2,300 he bets 775. And we ship it. He calls, and he's got ace 10, 5-4.
Okay.
And then the turn and river are the 3 and 2. So he gets the straight and scoops the whole thing. But my question on this one was more so, what do you do with this hand pre-flop than the abortion that happened afterwards?
As a pre-flop raise, it's not a value raise. It's definitely a bluff. So if someone middle position raises, you're repping aces.
Okay.
Repping aces or kings maybe, but I don't know what I'm going to say in a split pot PLO game. That's the hand is barely average.
Okay, all right. I don't
you
like
want,
his
you
play.
want low cards, Steve. I mean, it's pretty basic there,
Yeah.
Ace queen 8, and he had ace 2 3 4. What did he have?
He had ace 10, 5-4, and on ace queen 8 he bet and called the
10
shot.
5 4. Yeah, I think if he had ace 10 deuce 3, I think it's pretty good, because then with 2 cards to left, he's got a million outs to lock up the low. He's got ace deuce 3 and an 8, so he's got only needs one more card. So he had ace deuce 3, any 4, any 5, any 6, any 7. So he's got 16 outs to chop the pot. So I think in that situation, I think it's pretty standard. I'm not sure. That's my first instinct. You really want to be drawn to the nuts, whether it's the high or the low, I think. And I don't think this plays bad. I don't know.
Really? Okay. I thought it was a fish move, but maybe
I'm sorry. There was a rainbow, right? So no flush draw.
Rainbow, no flush draw.
I could be wrong, but I don't think he plays bad, because I think he's. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's not great. The pair, he does block top set. Maybe he takes aces out of your range, I guess. I don't know. This would be a good Alex hand. But there's a real good chance he has a low hand, whether he has the low nuts. Like, if I were him, I'd much rather have a deuce in my hand there for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Wanted to gamble.
Yes, he did. Right on. Well, if you guys want to join me over at Poker Mania, you guys can get Rake Back. You can click on the link in the show notes, or go to headsuppoker.poker. Click on the little Poker Mania icon up in the top right corner. That will get you 15% Rake Back, and you get it credited to your account every Monday. It's kind of nice. Get your 7-minute Tilt Buster by Elliot Roe. That's free. Click on the link in the show notes. And if you're going to be buying presents for Christmas this year, use our affiliate link at headsuppoker.poker and go to the Support Us tab, and there's a bookmark us for Amazon. Any of your purchases will be a slight kickback to the podcast and keep this train running. That's pretty much all I got. I think we're ready for Mark. What do you think, Mikey?
I think, we've endured as much of each other's company as we can for one day. 1 hour and 53 minutes of joy by my calculations or something.
Sounds good. All right. Without further ado, here is Mark Stanwyck.
the idea that you could speculate on the price and there was potentially money to be made there. So I've been following the space for a bunch of years now. Initially, it was kind of on the sidelines, and then, as it got bigger and bigger and more opportunities to be more involved presented themselves, I started getting more involved through various positions in different projects, advising different projects, working with different projects on marketing and communication and strategy and that type of thing. And yeah, I've been doing that for a bunch of years now, and cryptocurrency and Bitcoin in particular has just exploded in popularity and awareness and price. And the last year or two, especially the last 6 months or so, and it's been really interesting to see.
I got a couple of.
I just listened to. I just listened to the last show you guys did. It was almost exactly 3 months ago. And Steve, you were absolutely giddy that Bitcoin hit 4,700.
Right. I'm looking at some numbers right now, and I checked Coinbase about 20 minutes ago, and as of December 14th, 2017, Bitcoin has gone up 10 grand in the last month. It's up to 17,000 now. Ethereum has gone up $200 in the last week. It's up to 670. And Litecoin, I did not see this coming. Litecoin is up to $270. It was almost $100 more than that a couple days ago, and that's up almost $200 in a week.
It's gone up so much. It's like Scarlett Johansson calls and says, "Hey, do you mind if I come over and have sex?" And you're like, "Sure." And she's, "Oh, by the way, I'm bringing 3 friends."
Yes, all playmates.
It just keeps getting better. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Mike and I talked a little bit about this, and I want to get your point, Mark, is, generally speaking, when people are buying into this, money's kind of moving from Litecoin and Ethereum into Bitcoin and Bitcoin into those and like that. But since we've had, like when those two go down, it seems like Bitcoin goes up, and then when Bitcoin goes down, those two go up. But lately, Ethereum and Litecoin have just been going up, and so has Bitcoin's been staying about the same. I'm guessing that new people are finding out about this, and they're jumping into the market and buying these cheaper coins instead of investing in Bitcoin. Is that your take, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably a couple things going on. Like, to address the first piece of that, sort of the price correlation, I think at different times, those big three, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, sometimes they are sort of coupled and act in correlation with each other. And then sometimes they, depending on just news or totally sort of mysterious circumstances, kind of become totally decoupled from each other. But, generally speaking, I think, Bitcoin sort of, in a lot of ways, rules the show, and a lot of things react to what that's doing. But, in terms of, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and now, Litecoin especially, I think probably what's happened is, everybody's hearing about this stuff. It's all over the news. Everyone's talking about it. You can't go anywhere without hearing someone talking about making money off of it or asking questions. And one of the only places to go, or at least the easiest, and this is by design, and it's great for them, is Coinbase. And if you go on Coinbase, you see Bitcoin, and now it's 16, 17 grand. You see Ethereum that's going through the roof, and Litecoin, while it's a good coin and it's solid technology, it probably appears like a cheaper Bitcoin to a lot of people. Now, one Bitcoin, you don't have to own a whole Bitcoin, but there is a psychological thing. People want to own a whole thing of something.
Yes.
So it's just, I think in a lot of ways, it seems like a better opportunity, probably, even though really all that ends up mattering is the percentage that it's going to gain. It doesn't matter how much you own or what it is. It's how large it grows and, from what point. So I think, a bit of it is psychology, and then a bit of it is just, access. The Coinbase is going to be adding new things soon, and they probably won't add a lot, and they'll probably do it slowly over time. And I would suspect that same thing's going to happen. Whatever gets added to Coinbase, say it's 1, 2, 3 more coins or tokens, those things will probably explode. So, if you're able to sort of get an inside track on what's getting added there and be able to get some of those before that happened, you'd probably do pretty well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay.
Mark,
I like that.
I bought a bunch of coin late August, early September, right about the time you talked to Steve. And of
Hmm.
course, in these 3 months, it's almost, any monkey smashing their fist making trades in their computer is going to be making money. But
Yeah.
sounds like I'm always focusing on the negative here, but if I put all my money in just Bitcoin, I would have made a
Hmm.
lot, where I was
Yep.
very altcoin heavy. Um,
Yep.
it looks like, from what you said last time, and this isn't like trying to, I gotcha, but it sounds like you kind of, I don't know if you're in a point of frustration here, because I was looking at, Neo is a lot of my portfolio, and yet it's gone up in
Hmm.
money, but it's down 70% relative to Bitcoin. And I saw Omise Go
Right.
is pretty much the same, right around down
Yeah.
70%. So I'm
Yep.
curious if you think you made a mistake.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't, and I don't feel like I've made a mistake, and in choosing some of those things have protected myself from ever sort of feeling that way. You know, on one hand, there's always another trade to be made. There's always something else you can point to, especially in a bull market like this. And it's like, well, darn it, like if I had been over there, I would have made this, or if I hadn't sold this and just held this and done this, you can always kind of beat yourself up that way. It's a really easy thing to do.
Mike does it quite
But if,
well.
yeah, I think I certainly do it too. It's just natural. It's like I said, it's not a hard thing to do. But if when you're looking, before you put anything in and you're looking at investments, and you're not someone that's going to be, flipping all the time and day trading, and you sort of see potential for this technology to really change the way things work, you look at it from that angle and say, this is a project that I believe in, and I'm going to put my money here, and if other things start to run and this doesn't do anything or this goes down, you can feel comfortable, at least to a degree, because you're going to have to take on some sort of risk, that, in the future, sort of like if this is that your time will come because, the technology, the roadmap, the development, isn't quite where it's going to be, but one day it will be. So I sort of protect myself from ever feeling too bad about it because I believe in the things that I put my money in.
Right.
I try and stay away from, day trading all the time. I've done it. It just doesn't fit well with my personal temperament. I get too obsessed with it.
Right. Okay.
You're
So
the long-term guy.
these are long-term investments. But moving forward, if
Yeah.
you start putting more money in, do you think you will be more Bitcoin heavy as a percentage of your portfolio, or do you think you'll be more looking aggressively for these coins that you think could really grow and you like your business plan, et cetera?
Right. So I guess like my personal strategy might not even be what I would recommend to someone that's just getting in. Like for me, like I have probably the Bitcoin that I'm going to have. Maybe I'll buy a little more. And whenever I inject new capital in, it's usually, there hasn't been a lot. There's a lot of great projects coming out, like a lot of cool, interesting stuff happening that plenty of people are plenty excited about. But for me personally, there hasn't been a lot really recently in the, these past couple of months that I'm super, super excited about, besides the things that I already spoke about in the last one, like Omise Go in particular. So that's where I put my money. I mean, to me, it's cheap right now. This is my personal opinion. This is not financial advice, but for me, the way that I see it, like a project like Omise Go, if they're able to execute on their vision, if they're able to do it, buying Omise Go right now at $9, $10, $11 is like buying Ethereum at $10. That's the way I see it. So, while Omise Go isn't ripping right now, 2018, 2019, like I'm confident will be a different story. So that's sort of how I'm playing it, but that's just me.
Okay.
Okay. It makes sense.
Yeah. We got a few questions from some listeners. I'm going to start with the most basic of one from Melissa O'Reilly via Twitter. She says, "How do I get Bitcoin? If you've never gotten Bitcoin before and you're the first one and you want to jump into the market, what would you do, Mark?"
Mm-hmm. I mean, absolutely just go over to Coinbase, and the fees can be a little high there, but, it's FDIC insured. You can put it on your credit card. You can put it on your debit card, although, I don't recommend ever going into any kind of debt, even if it is just credit card debt, to buy this stuff. But you can, link it up to your bank account. It's super simple to do it that way. It's really not intimidating at all. Sometimes people can be sort of intimidated by this stuff, but user face is really simple. Looks probably easy to use on your banking website, and anybody can get an account there in the U.S. So that's where I would absolutely recommend anybody that's never bought it before.
I was going to ask about the Coinbase fees real quickly, if I can jump into that, Steve, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
They are really high. I mean, it adds up pretty quick, that 1.5%.
Yep.
Do you think there's going to be more options coming down the line here of buying? I mean, I would think competition would step up pretty quickly here, so you can buy Bitcoin using your checking, credit card for 0.5% or 0.75%.
There are some competitors that are similar to Coinbase. There's a website called Gemini. That's another website and exchange that's here in the U.S. I think it's in New York, and that was started by the Winklevoss twins. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, The Social Network. Yeah. They were sort of, there was some stuff that happened in the early days of Facebook. Those guys' exchange, they actually, bet on Bitcoin pretty big, somewhat early on. I think they put in about $10 million about 4 years ago, and I think I just read that investment's worth about $1 billion now.
Wow.
And they started an exchange, and their fees are much, much lower. Much lower. I want to say it's like 0.25%, but you can't use your credit card. You'd either have to wire in money, and that's like a $30 fee, but if you're going to wire in, let's just say $10,000, that's probably your best bet. Or you can ACH right in, and it's instant. There's a daily limit of $5. It's instant. You can buy your Bitcoin. You can buy your Ethereum, but you can't transfer it out of the exchange until it clears. So you can say there was a price that you wanted to get today. You could get that price. You just wouldn't be able to transfer it out until that deposit clears. But it's much, much cheaper than Coinbase. That's what I tend to use.
Okay. But I do think, quickly, just to throw my 2 cents in, if we're talking to people who are total newbies, you do have to keep an eye on that, the fees, especially if you're like a day trader and bouncing around. Even that 0.5%, can add up quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, Coinbase is definitely not for day trading. That you will lose your ass.
Yeah, the fees, the fees can be the fees can be brutal for sure.
Yeah, it's more of like buy it and sit on it. And it's easy.
Yeah,
and
you're paying for the convenience. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. We got another question. This one's from Ross B. He says, I have a friend that said he bought into a trust, GBTC. What is this, and why would anyone do it instead of buying direct from an exchange like Coinbase?
I'm not sure what that is. You said it was a trust called GDTC?
GBTC, Golf Bravo Tango Charlie.
Yeah, I don't.
Have you heard of those?
I don't know what that is.
Could be like a mutual fund kind of thing for coins, where we give you money and we'll invest in all the different coins and make those decisions for you.
That would be my guess. And really, the advantage there, granted that these people, know what they're doing is, you don't have to, in the same way that you would rely on a money manager or, to manage your portfolio of stocks, you would rely on this person to manage your crypto asset portfolio. So it's really just your personal preference, probably. If that's what it is, that would be my guess.
It looks like it. I looked it up right now, and it's a Bitcoin investment trust. And
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and this isn't a commentary on this particular one, just because I don't even know what it is. I would be skeptical of that, just because you don't know, what these people this is really new to a lot of people, especially, institutional investors and people that, manage money in more traditional formats. But it could be a good one. I don't know. You just have to do your own due diligence.
Mark, I'm just kind of going through some of the things you and Steve talked about last time, actually, but just kind of want to know maybe a little more about, you're talking about, Bitcoin, could it go to 10, 15,000, 100, 200,000? Like nobody knows, which of course nobody knows. Everybody, of course, especially if you're in a poker room, I don't know, for some reason to me, I think it's, I guess there's dumb people everywhere, but people have strong opinions on exactly what's going to happen with Bitcoin, but we don't know. But what do you think will be the major factors which kind of determine the ceiling of this? One person told me the scenario of Bitcoin becoming like, 200,000, like 500,000, whatever, is that it actually replaces gold as kind of like economies actually start backing themselves up with digital currency. I mean, that's, I guess, the fantasy scenario for people who have a couple of Bitcoin now, but I don't have a general question. What factors will determine the overall price of Bitcoin?
I think that, again, it's hard to say, and I think that's, generally speaking, has changed over time. In the early days of Bitcoin, the idea was it would be this really, easy-to-use thing. It would be accepted everywhere. It would be fast. It would be cheap. And here we are, all these years later. None of that's true, and the price has never been higher. So the narrative, I think, these days, something closer to gold, where it's just this store, people talk about it as, quote unquote, store of value, where you sort of, granted it is much more volatile, at least at this point, than gold. But, it's like, the slower Bitcoin gets, the more congested the network gets, the higher the price seems to go. So I think it's almost like people will create any narrative that they need to for them to feel comfortable buying it and feeling like they can sell it to the next guy for more. Like, I don't know that you really point to one thing and be like, or even a set of things that will be the tipping point. I think, it's an interesting question, and and it's kind of like a heady one as well. But I do think, I think it probably comes down to just adoption, and the easier it becomes for everyone to buy, which is what's happening now, and I think is leading to these huge price increases. The more expensive it will become.
Are these irrationally huge price increases, which is my instinct? I just sold most of my Bitcoin hoping to buy back in when it drops down to 7 or 8K, which might never happen. Some people are saying it's going to go to 25K and the fallback is what it is now. But it's funny, 3 months ago people were saying, man, don't be careful. I'm like, I don't care. I know people, personally at the casino. One guy bought like $20,000 of Ethereum for $7 each and sold it for $100,000 like 6 months later. I mean, at first hand, I knew people getting rich. I didn't care. Now that I'm in it for 3 months, other people are buying it. I'm like, hold on a second. This shit's moving up too fast. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, if you're paying attention and you've been around long enough, this is certainly the kind of thing that gives you pause. And doesn't quite look right and doesn't feel totally safe. The other part of that is what you're talking about is, the higher it goes, and if it's going to the floor keeps getting higher and higher. So if it loses 30, 40%, if it goes high enough, it could be just right back where you bought it anyway. It just happened a few months later and it comes back down or whatever. When I'm talking to people about it these days, like the thing that I just stress the most, and it's because of these things that you're talking about, and no one has any idea what's going to happen, and this stuff is growing so fast, and it isn't really coupled to any kind of utility. It's almost 100% speculative. Is really sort of have your risk management in check. I wouldn't tell someone, don't buy it today because it's high, it's going to go down. Like I don't know those things, but I will tell someone things like, don't go into debt buying, cryptocurrency. Don't, put a bunch of it on your credit card. Don't take out loans. Even if it seems like a sure thing, it's so easy to feel like you're making the right decisions in these kind of markets, and everything is just going up. How about you put your money anywhere? You know what I mean? You make money. It's really easy to get overly confident. Don't invest more than you're willing to lose. You know what I mean? Even though most people will, keep that in mind. It's these kind of things. I don't speak so much to, this is going to happen and you're going to lose all your money. It's like, listen, just be prepared for this not to go your way. Be prepared. It's fun and you can make money here, but also, don't overextend yourself because no one really understands what's happening here, and it could be gone tomorrow just as easily.
I was talking with Mike about this last week or the week before. I can't remember, Mike. We send each other screenshots of the price of Bitcoin like every other day. And I remember we were talking and I was like, every time I log into Coinbase, which is like 3 times a day, I fully expect to look and see Bitcoin at like, $2,500. And every time it's not, I'm like grateful and, but if it did that, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, the one day was absurd. It went from like 13,000 to like 19,800 in like 6 hours or something.
It was nuts.
Right. Yeah. The rate at which it's accelerating and hitting these milestones, whereas it used to take years to get here, it's taking, 14 days. It just makes you sort of say, okay, like I said, it gives you pause. You're wise to be sort of skeptical here.
Okay, good. I don't have to, like right now I feel like I'm missed out a little bit because, like I said.
Well, you might have. You might have. Like, you might have, but there is something to be said for, like locking in your profit, getting out, not timing it off. Maybe you missed 20 or 30%, but like you didn't lose it. You didn't lose anything. You can never really be upset about making money. You know what I mean? That's kind of the mentality you have to have.
Yeah, I took my original investment out plus like 5,000 and I'm free rolling with what I have left, which is good.
Yeah. Smart.
You're in a great spot, Mike.
Me and another buddy who's like an investor kind of talk about this all the time. It's like, and we're both kind of of the same opinion, like, geez, this is just going too fast. It's like, okay, we understand digital currency, the value of it. We think this is going to be around. But why does Bitcoin specifically have to be of such value? I mean, couldn't a couple billionaires just come out and say, listen, we got a new Google coin or Amazon coin or something else, which all of a sudden just will explode in value, and doesn't Bitcoin drop dramatically if something else comes along?
Yeah, I mean, well, Bitcoin specifically has a lot of things going for it, not just in terms of, name and brand recognition and all of those things, but, in terms of developer support and community and the strength and the size of the network, things that are really, really, really hard to achieve, that make it sort of as powerful as it is, are hard to replicate. And that's not to say it won't happen again. It will. But it's not just easy as throwing a bunch of money at the problem and saying, hey, look, we have a bigger brand and we have more money and now we're bigger than Bitcoin. It just doesn't work that way. And that's kind of one of the compelling, cool things about it is money. All this money doesn't necessarily buy you a seat at the table. It certainly helps.
Okay.
But, there's going to be others. And, whether Bitcoin survives or is always the biggest or isn't, it's hard to say. But it's going to be hard to beat as well.
Right. Yeah. As long as cryptocurrency, the market valuation is going up, Bitcoin should be prospering nicely, I'm assuming.
Most likely, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was listening to another podcast, and they were talking about Segwit 2X, and they talked about it was like a hard fork of Bitcoin. Are you familiar with that?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
They canceled it.
They canceled it?
Yeah. So this kind of goes back to a much, much larger and at times, a technical topic of like the Bitcoin scaling debate and how you go about making something like Bitcoin, which is decentralized, although there are, when you really look at it, there are people sort of in charge. You make something like that better. How do you introduce improvements to it? And people have different ideas about, the best ways to do that. And when you get, groups together that have two different ideas about the best way to do that, and there's some disagreement, that's when these things like forks start to happen, and they split the chain, and the original Bitcoin chain goes one way, the fork with this, these upgrades go the other way, and it's sort of like, may the best man win kind of scenario. With Segwit and Segwit 2X specifically, there was a long period of time where people were trying to figure out the best way to move forward. And they, during something called the New York Agreement, they, sort of the Bitcoin developers and some of the bigger Bitcoin companies came to an agreement about a two-stage way to make that happen. And the first stage happened. That was this segregated witness part, where they sort of did some technical things to make the amount of transactions that fit in a block and the blockchain more. And then when the second part came to pass, the sort of people started withdrawing their support for it. It was, and it really highlighted how political this thing can be, sort of how centralized at times this thing can be, even though it's supposed to be decentralized. There's really, a core group of people kind of holding the power, at least a lot of the influence. And, this is the sort of stuff that I find really, really interesting and kind of makes this stuff so fascinating, but it also speaks to how sort of unpredictable it can be.
Yeah, so, if I could dive into that a little bit, Steve. I'm sorry. We have an interview style where Steve has a dumb question. I've got a slightly less dumb question. No, that specific, I don't remember one day, Steve, I was kind of hysterical a little bit. I know, Mark, you said you like...
You're going to have to narrow it down more than that, bro.
Well, I'm going to get into that. I know, Mark, you said you like to follow like the Reddit discussions about the coin where you get some information. I don't know. There's a guy on YouTube I like a lot, Data Dash. I don't know if you've seen him at all.
I've heard of him.
You heard of him?
I know that some people that like him, yeah.
And he's a real smart guy with the coin. And, he's not swayed easily in his decision by, oh, wow, this coin had a good day, this coin had a bad day. But when you talk about how that got very political, that fork that didn't happen, he all of a sudden got very emotional because he actually used the word conspiracy because he's like, we've got Bitcoin flying up in price because everyone thinks this fork's happened. It doesn't happen. And then immediately after, I don't know if you remember this day, Bitcoin went down like 2,000 and Bitcoin Cash exploded.
Mm-hmm.
And he was of the line that basically there was a bunch of manipulators there who could get in and really just kind of change the whole market. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can't even describe it in an intelligent way here. But it was, I guess it brought up, the behind-the-scenes sort of elements of it. I don't know, where there's this fork. And he was arguing, is it a conspiracy? Was this never going to happen anyways? Was this just a way for these guys to be able to
inflate the price,
sell it all off, and then get their hands on Bitcoin Cash? I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that crazy? That when we, for those of
I've heard that. I've heard that theory. Now, I don't know if it's true or not. I think the moral of that story really is, whether it's true or not. This stuff isn't regulated in the way that traditional markets are. When it is, we don't know what that's going to look like. And, manipulations like that, while I don't know if it took place, it could, and there'd be nothing necessarily illegal about it. So people don't really have any incentive not to. Market manipulation is rampant in these crypto markets. It happens, all day, every day. And then the guys that have a lot of money can do it on much bigger scales. And I'm sure it does happen, Well,
now that all these billionaires now that this is going mainstream kind of with the banks, there's Bitcoin futures. Again, this is over my head here, but I'll try to, immediately I have a very conspiratorial mind. This is just a bunch of manipulators who can put the price of Bitcoin wherever they want just to maximize their own profit. Is that?
Well, with the ability now for people with a lot of money that haven't really had access to these markets in the way that they're used to having access to markets, with the ability to sort of short Bitcoin and kind of bet against the price, this now introduces another handful of variables that the market can be potentially manipulated, and they can use their money to influence the price and the direction that it goes in. The Bitcoin futures thing was an exciting thing for the community just because it validated the community and in a lot of ways it said, Bitcoin's a real thing and, it's here to stay and, it's gaining more traditional recognition. And on the other hand, people are like, well, this is going to mess with everything and, they're just going to use it to manipulate the markets and it's going to be, it's going to be a bad thing because, now the people that have, influence because they have a lot of money can play the games that they always play. And, I don't really take a side on that. It's just kind of the evolution of how things go. And, it's probably starting to sound like this stuff is, heavily manipulated and that's all it is. I mean, granted it is, but, there's a lot of really cool, exciting technology here. Bitcoin is really just, in a lot of ways, Bitcoin, Ethereum, they're just use cases of this blockchain technology, which no one knows what direction it's going to go in. Everyone believes it has the potential to be really disruptive and kind of unseat traditional power structures and, all these big ideas. But, this is very, 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 very early. Like you guys, even it feels like everybody knows about it and everybody's investing in it, and to a degree that's true. But on the other hand, this is very, very, very early days.
Sure.
When we look at long-term, what this was designed for, we're getting in at just the cusp.
Yeah, I hear people talk about, and maybe I agree. It's like, we're really early, and maybe we're too early. You know what I mean? In terms of what this technology is actually able to do right now. You know what I mean? The idea is there, and the foundations are there, but it may be, another 10 or 15 years before any of this stuff actually realizes its potential. God knows what can happen to people that are speculating in that time frame.
Yeah. Well, I've been floored just myself. I got in 3.5 or 4 years ago or whatever it was at $450.
Right.
And I fully expected to kiss that 450 goodbye, but I thought there was a slight percentage chance, maybe it was like as much as 5, that it would explode. And I can't stop doing cartwheels and backflips. Right?
I mean, it's incredible. I pay attention to some traders that have been in traditional markets for decades, and now they're in cryptocurrency, and they talk about it all the time. That people that are doing this right now will never see another opportunity like this in their lifetime. Like the markets just don't behave like this ever. Like this is a once in a lifetime sort of opportunity, and that's why it's to sort of sit on the sidelines.
Yep.
I feel like this is the modern day, like this is our .com. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is our .com. Yep. We were a little bit too young to catch it before, but we're prime age for this one. And I don't know if there'll be another one. Mike and I were talking. We want to ask you this is, okay, Litecoin went from basically, it was floating around $50 for months, and then all of a sudden it just skyrocketed over the last week, and now it's up almost to 300. We want another Litecoin for 2018. What are your top 3? If you could speculate on these, like what's your Litecoin of 2018?
So I bleed Omise Go. I think that is just the coolest coin. I think it's got a really great team, and like I said before, like it's worth looking into and sort of wrapping your head around the size of what they're trying to accomplish and how big it would actually be if they were able to accomplish that. And that's $10. I think Monero, although it's not as cheap as Litecoin, I think Monero has a lot of room to grow. Not sure what it was today, a couple $100.
Monero? But, how do you spell that?
It's Monero. So Monero is in like a class of coins called privacy coins. And, one of the original things that attracted people to Bitcoin was the idea that it was anonymous. And in some ways it is, in a lot of ways it isn't. The government now has all sorts of forensic tools to trace Bitcoin and throughout the network and, really get a good idea of who's doing what and where it's coming and where it's going and what you're spending. If they really wanted to, they could probably find that out pretty easily. So these privacy coins obfuscate everything to where you're sending it to and the amounts you're actually sending. So they're really, truly anonymous. And I think that's probably going to be a big area of opportunity for growth. People sort of adopt this stuff and kind of find a need for privacy, and the realization that maybe Bitcoin isn't as anonymous as they once thought it was. And outside of that, it's a really, really good development team. Smart guys who've been around for a long time. They're good guys. They're not just in it for the money. They're in it because they believe in the technology. And I'm attracted to teams like that because there's a lot of garbage, unfortunately, in the space, and people that are here just to make money, and can't fault them for that. It's just I'm not interested in investing in that.
Yeah.
So I really like Omisego and Monero, but I think those are good ones to look at.
I think if I can go back to Omisego here, and this maybe goes back to the previous one. I know you said people just can't buy their way in, but I don't know if now it's kind of more merit-based where, Omisego, like guys like you who are spreading the information, is like, listen, I talked to the owners. I know what they're up to. I know what they're investing in. Now that, if you have these speculators who are just coming in with their billions of dollars, can't they just put out an inferior product but put Kim Kardashian's face on it? You know what I mean?
I mean, they've over the past year, maybe 6 months, more specifically, there have been a couple of projects that have tried to attach celebrities to them, and most of them, Paris Hilton, Floyd Mayweather, some other music artists, and they've all done pretty terrible, just because it just, Floyd Mayweather was attached to a project called Stocks, and that's a prediction market. So it's basically like the ability to gamble on anything. The weather, you gamble on, what's the weather going to be next Tuesday, or who's going to win this election, whatever. That's a really sort of simplistic explanation of what prediction markets are. And I think that one did okay, but it's just not going to go anywhere. Maybe you could have 2 or 3 times your money if you'd gotten in early. You probably could have, but the space is brutal, and people are really, really skeptical, as they should be. And, in this day and age, it's really easy to find out stuff, and it's hard to hide things, and it just won't be around for more than that initial burst. And there's nothing wrong with, figuring out your formula and saying, I'm going to invest in this project, and once I double my money or triple my money, I'm out. I have no problem with that. It's just not what I'm interested in doing.
Sure.
A, that's just kind of stressful for me. And B, I think there's bigger opportunities out there in good projects that are actually doing cool things that can make a difference in the world.
Let me ask about the 2 coins that I have, because I kind of took a step back, like I said, and sold all my Bitcoin, but I kept 2 altcoins. Rather than having 10 altcoins, I decided to put all in 2. I have Neo and Vertcoin.
Okay.
Vertcoin had a real big explosion right away, where I made some good gains. But since then, these last couple of days, when all these altcoins have been making a surge, Vert is the one that's actually fell back a little bit. It makes me think it's probably overpriced, and it's a correction going on.
Yeah. Well, with that, I would say it's probably seen it's like a most recent hype cycle, and you could easily see another one. But when something like, because Vert was a pretty big gainer, over the last couple of months, and when other things start to run and your big gainer isn't running anymore, there's this tendency to say, well, this isn't, maybe this isn't such a good thing. But the way that these markets tend to work are these hype cycles where, all this attention goes to this project. People, are talking about it, posting about it. It's all you hear about. It kind of drives this fear of missing out, which raises the price, and then they're on to the next thing. And so that goes back to what I was originally saying about finding projects that you really research and believe in, and no matter what they do, they can stagnate, they can go up a little, they can go down a little. You just don't really care because you've accepted that this is risky anyway, but you believe in this particular project. But as far as Vertcoin goes, I don't know a ton about the project. I know sort of why people like it. It's been around for a bunch of years. It's ASIC resistant, which means that you you can't, like with Bitcoin, one of the main sort of gripes that people have with Bitcoin are these specialized mining chips that are really, really, really good at just doing one thing, and that's mining Bitcoin, and it sort of makes it unfair and less decentralized because, only the people that can afford massive amounts of these chips are able to mine it, and, and therefore it's not decentralized. So people liked Vertcoin because it was resistant to that type of, centralization-ish. That's all I really know about it. So I don't really know. As far as Neo goes, I like Neo a lot. Neo was trading, a bunch of months ago around what it's trading now, and there was a lot of news that came out about regulation coming out of China and what the government was going to, allow there. And Neo took a huge hit as a result of that. But, recently, Neo's got a lot of cool things kind of happening behind the scenes, and, it looks like they will sort of be one of the ones, at least initially, that's going to play nice with the Chinese government. So I think Neo's a hold for sure. Vertcoin, like I said, I couldn't really say either way. I don't know enough about it.
Okay.
But I think both Omisego and Neo are going to do well next year.
Okay.
And I really hesitate to even offer that kind of advice, but I know you guys, want to hear what I think, but it's just like, I don't know as much as the next guy. My sort of advantage here is I'm in this stuff all day, and I've probably been doing it longer than you, and, so maybe I have some more insight, but that's about it. And this is just my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what we're looking for, Mark.
Yeah. The more hesitant someone is to give advice here, I consider them the wiser they are.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Mikey's and I are looking at Coinbase 12 times a day, and that's our pretty much expertise. So this is gold compared to what we're doing.
Another subject you guys touched on last time is security issues.
Mm-hmm.
This one freaks me out more as much as anything. I use Binance, and they incentivize you to keep all your coin on there. You get gas if you have Neo. You get Bitcoin Diamond, which I don't even know what the hell it is, but I know you get some. And now they give you something called Tron, which is not worth a hell of a lot. That's
a project built on the Neo blockchain. There's always projects like Omisego built on the Ethereum blockchain. Tron is one of these ones that's built on the Neo blockchain.
So I kind of want to keep it on there, but Bitfinex, some of these places, I don't know. Again, you're just talking about stuff you don't know about it, but which one of the sites was hacked recently? They took, was it $700 million in coins, and people think it might be North Korea, and it's just, this stuff is real.
Talking about Nice Hash? There was a pretty high-profile hack on a website called Nice Hash, which is a mining website. I think it was like $60 or $70 million. Just gone. People suspect, it was an inside job, quote unquote, but I certainly don't know. But so as far as the exchanges go, like the best you can do are use trustworthy exchanges like that seem to be transparent, and like Binance is a good one, I think. Bittrex is another good one, but I think the theme that we keep coming up against here is you have to get really, you have to have a risk management mindset and sort of assume the worst, because this stuff is it's at this point, it's so unregulated, and there's just never a dull day in terms of, security stuff and hacks and money turning up missing and, people losing their stuff. So it's like you kind of have to assume the worst. So, I would never recommend keeping your money on an exchange long term. Like, if you want to see if you can earn some Tron, and maybe make a few bucks, I don't think there's any harm in that. Don't get complacent and just leave it there. Have a plan for getting it off and when. That's maybe a moderate risk management approach.
Do these hard wallets, can you put some of the altcoin on there?
The hardware wallets? Ledger,
Ledger,
like I use a Ledger. That's a really good one. The Trezor is another one. Ledger supports a lot of the larger altcoins, so they have to add support for the coin, but they're always adding support, and most of the major ones are on there. Now, ERC20 tokens, which are built on Ethereum, that makes up a large percentage of the more popular projects. They support any ERC20 token, so for the most part, you'll be able to store it on there for the most part.
Okay. I when we talked last, I remember you mentioned getting a ledger, and I'm proud to say that I did that right after I recorded the episode. I went online and I bought a ledger. It came out here from England, and I'm embarrassed to say that I've been staring at the box of the ledger. I have it in my hand right now, and I have not done anything with it. So what do I have to do?
That's not how you use it.
Exactly, yeah. So what do I have to do? It's basically, it looks like a USB drive, and it's got the little USB plug-in to the computer. What do I do to get my Bitcoin from Coinbase onto my ledger so it can't be hacked?
Okay. So there's probably, I don't remember at this point, I'm assuming there might be a little booklet or online instructions in there, but the gist of it is you will install, like, each token. I think it comes with a Bitcoin wallet comes installed. Maybe it doesn't. I think it does. But if it doesn't, it's really easy to sort of go on the website and install wallets for the coins that you have. And it gives you an address, and you send it over there to the address, and then it's on your wallet, and you can access it through the interface on your computer. And the important thing there is with the ledger, when you first start it, it gives you a 20-word mnemonic seed. And so that's a list of 20 words, and it's very important that you write that down because they only give it to you one time. And if you ever lost your ledger, or the ledger died, or someone stole your ledger, you would need that seed to get a new ledger. And when you booted it up, it would ask you if you were setting up fresh or using a seed. And you would type in those 20 words, and your wallet, it would restore your wallet. So like that mnemonic is basically like that list of 20 words is essentially like mathematically generated from, or your private key is mathematically generated from those 20 words. So A, you would need that to restore your wallet, and B, if anyone had that list of 20 words, they would be able to restore your wallet. So it makes it easy for you to restore it, but it's also something that you need to keep private and safe.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'll do that. I realized, like, this morning when I woke up and we're having you on, I'm all, wow, I got almost 20K wrapped up in freaking, it could be gone like a fart in the wind. I haven't even secured it. What am I doing?
and here's what I'll say about this. If you're super paranoid, is send $5 over to your ledger, wipe it, and then restore it. Just so you have practice sending it to your ledger, restoring your ledger. If anything happens, it works. You know how to use the seed, whatever. You want to test. Always test with small amounts.
Okay, yeah. Throw that over first. Delete it, and so whatever you lose $5, but you don't risk losing the whole nugget if you did something wrong.
Right, and ideally you don't. But I always sleep better at night knowing I've done it, and I don't have to experiment with everything.
Yeah. Okay, good point. Right on.
Do you have any more listener questions, Steve? I kind of cut you off when you were starting to do that.
No. One thing I want to. Okay, so for the OMG, Monero, and Neo, we get that off of Bittrex, right? And we can transfer Bitcoin from Coinbase to Bittrex, and then we can use that to purchase these other altcoins, right?
That's correct. So buy Ethereum and send that over to Bittrex, and all of those three coins that you listed have both a pairing with Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's just really preference. Bitcoin's more common, though.
Okay. All right. Cool. That's all I got. You got anything, Mikey? I feel like I got a lot to
Oh,
go
I'm
on
sorry,
now.
Steve. I'm right now doing a trade. I'm selling all my Vert and buying some Omisego. Honestly,
Yeah.
I don't know if you develop, again, I guess you're not a day trader, Mark, which I've kind of been. And there's a few coins which my timing, I guess, has just been bad. Ripple's been one where 3 times I've bought, say, 3,000 to 5,000, and it's gone down, and I've sold it again. And then I'm like, well, I'm going to try one more time. So Omisego, I'm 0 for 3 on. But that doesn't mean it's not a good project. It just means, and Ripple went through the roof, of course, the last couple of days. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I double hate Ripple. So now I'm guessing that, whatever. I decided Vertcoin, I think is, there's just not a lot of enthusiasm for it, at least in the few people I follow. I think it's kind of high.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean...
Again, I'm not going to blame you if Vertcoin goes through the roof.
Yeah, and then that's the thing, and that's always why I hesitate to even give suggestions. But Musico is a great project, and I would just hang on to it, and see where it goes. But yeah, like I said before, I think for anyone that's just getting into this, it's a really, really fascinating space. There's a lot to learn. You could go as deep as you want to. You can spend as much or as little time as you want to. There is money to be made here, but it can be tricky, and there's people out there that want to take your money and know how to do it. And maybe you're not so keen on security, and they'll take advantage of that. That's not to intimidate anyone out of doing it. It's just to sort of set the expectation that if you're going to sort of play here, like you have a responsibility to do the research. Security is important. You can't disregard this stuff or it will bite you in the ass. That being said, there's lots of money to be made. It's super fun. Just don't invest in anything that you can't afford to lose, because you might.
Right.
It could be gone.
I mean, just for fun, because we don't know. I'm going to specify that again. Do we want to make a little 12-month predictions here on Bitcoin? Or originally I heard, when it was 4,700, people were like, wow, it could hit 6,000 by the end of the year. And obviously it's annihilated that. Is there just too many variables to even get? Is there a chance it's like 100,000 by next year?
Anything I would say would be a guess. But in December of next year, I could see it being somewhere between, I don't even think this is a good idea.
It's a great idea, Mark.
Here's what I would say. If it was somewhere between $50,000 and $75,000, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay. Steve, I'm going to call and max out my credit cards right now.
That's an excellent idea, Michael.
And, but to follow that up is if it was less than it is now, I also wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
That's called balancing your investment sheet, Steve. You're paying attention there. We all learned something.
I think I'm gonna I'm gonna do exactly what you said about the ledger first and foremost. Second thing I'm gonna do is any coin that comes up on Coinbase, I'm gonna buy a few of them right off the bat and just sit on them.
Uh-huh.
And I read something recently that said that Coinbase over the last 2 weeks is the number one downloaded app off of the App Store.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Now, I think that's directly correlated to why Ethereum and Litecoin are going up now, kind of in the same ballpark, right? The next one that jumps on there, just like you said, Mark, I think is going to be a winner.
Well, you talk about manipulation and inside information. Whatever coins appear there next, I would think would just explode in price. Can we take a guess of what will be the first ones up there? Or?
So Coinbase, released a document that talks about sort of their guidelines and what they would be looking for and tokens that they list. They said they will be listing ERC20 tokens, so the Ethereum tokens. They'll also be listing other currencies. I think the popular sort of school of thought is the three that I hear talked about a lot are Ripple, Dash, and Monero. Dash, I'm not so sure about. I don't really care much for Dash. But the other two wouldn't surprise me. Those are, Ripple and Monero are both projects that have been around for a long time and have huge community and, large potential applications. So, again, those are just guesses, but I do hear those guesses a lot.
Do you have any holding in Ripple?
I don't anymore, but, like I said, I don't beat myself up for it because Ripple went crazy. I used to have some, but I sold it a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
This has been great stuff, man.
This has. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for coming on.
I'm always
Is there,
I can find something.
Since we're with all the optimism we show towards Bitcoin, I think it is good to throw a little caution. So we appreciate that.
Yeah.
I guess I was going to say, will there be any signs that Bitcoin could be going in the other direction? And we know the sign; it'll be like dropping like $3,000 in like 9 minutes. You can't really see it coming. Yeah.
The problem there, in the exit, the little guy is usually the last to know.
Sure.
And that's, that's me and you. So, I think what we were talking about earlier with how fast the price is moving. I think that's a cause for concern, just because it's seems so fast and sort of unnatural, and who knows what's really at play. But in terms of warning signs to look for, Bitcoin's doing good. It's doing good things, and it's in terms of exposure and popularity and adoption. It's only getting bigger. So, that might be its sort of curse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, nobody knows anything here. Just hope, cross your fingers.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's all paradoxical. It's all speculative. No one really knows. You just do your best to manage your risk.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, thank you, Mark. And so you guys hear that, get your Bitcoin, and you can transfer it straight over to Pokermania. Start playing with the fish.
I'm sorry, Steve, my last little observation here, because I like sound like the expert here too, but I have learned, we're talking about how being the last to know, but with any of these coins on exchanges, you can put the buy and sell orders ahead of time. People are totally new to it. I do that. I don't know if you do that at all.
Well, that would require like leaving your coins on the exchange, which we talked about earlier. But that's a good point. Like if you have your profit targets and your what you're willing to risk and how you sort of know your risk to reward ratios, you can absolutely set limit sell things like that. Where just bottom, just shoot sort of bottom and you can sell it, and there's risks associated with that too. But that's a great point. You could totally do that.
I'm sorry, Steve. We're backtracking here. There's one more question. I took my paper out. So and they're all. Maybe you can explain to Steve. I've read several times here to explain the difference between looking at your trades in terms of dollar and satoshis. For the new traders, because I know I was mistaking that. I'm like, I made $10, and my entire portfolio was kind of shrinking because I had less and less Bitcoin total all along. So I don't know if that's something, quickly like my Neo, I use Blockfolio to keep track. If I look at it in dollar amounts, I'm like, I've made $17,000 on Neo. I actually lost one Bitcoin. So depending on how you look at it, it's a real bad investment. I've lost over 20,000,
Yeah, it can really trip people up. I would not necessarily. I tend to largely ignore the USD price and look take Omisego for example. At its high, it was at say roughly around 3,000 satoshis, and that was $13. Now this is when these are rough numbers. This is when Bitcoin was at half the value, and today it's at like 96, whatever it is, 9,600, and it's the same price. So you can make money in USD and still have lost money because the Bitcoin ratio is so much lower. It just depends on what Bitcoin's doing. The best thing to do is just pick one and always go by that. Don't just jump back and forth between the two, because it makes your portfolio sound better.
Okay. You're kind of getting that, Steve. You know how they said a head like cement? Cement is actually, if you take a look at it, water. It'll go through it. So it
gets me too. I mean, it's tricky, and it took me a long time to just sort of get comfortable with it. And I'm probably not the best person to explain it either. But yeah, just focus on Satoshi. Kind of ignore the USD value as much as you can, because the ratio to Bitcoin is sort of what matters most.
Yeah,
but if you were to go sell it, the dollar value is the dollar value, but it's just, there's a kind of a bigger picture. It's a more nuanced picture, let's say. Like, you can lose Satoshi and the dollar's the same. It just, you kind of have to know how to move back and forth between the two if you're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, just my one friend, we both started pretty much the same time, and he pretty much bought 13 Bitcoin, but then did a lot of day trading. So his value has gone up, but his value, it's now, he had 13 Bitcoin, and his overall portfolio value is now 7 Bitcoin, which is
right. So he's lost a lot of money. He's
doubled his money, sort of, depending on how you want to look at it.
But only because the price of Bitcoin has gone up. He would not be feeling too good. I mean, he still might not be feeling good, but
he has Barton-like qualities. He's happy because he's living,
Better.
I'm sorry, but that's we could go back into that's the risk of the airline right there. Obviously, is what we were kind of talking about.
Yeah.
You can also hit the jackpot with those too. So, but yeah, man, it's great. Thanks. Well, I tell everyone who comes on here a second time, you're officially part of the Heads Up Poker podcast family, which means we start pestering you all the time.
Yeah.
So,
oh, right on.
Get ready for a bunch of interviews, Mark. You've been tweeted at a bunch, and I think I even sent you a screenshot of one of them. So this was a long-awaited one, especially with everything going up. Guys are like, when are we going to have Mark the Bitcoin guy on again?
Oh, Jesus. I hope I deliver. God.
Oh yeah, no, you're great, dude. This is you're basically preaching to thousands of other people like me and Mike that are totally clueless. So you're a resident expert.
Right on.
Right on. Cool. Well, thank you for coming on, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All righty. Thank you guys for tuning in. And here is your weekly motivational speech.
If every person in this room who was bitter would if there was some sort of way you could see it, you'd be shocked at the people who are contaminated. Contaminated with great potential, but they're contaminated because they have allowed their past to bleed into their present and pollute their future. It is when the things on the outside have contaminated the person on the inside. Don't let life make you change your name. Talking about the danger of giving up too soon. Making bad decisions, trading, bartering off, giving up people, giving up relationships, giving up careers, giving up your life. You can't make good decisions when they come from a bitter heart. No matter how strong you are, if you're not careful, a series of losses will affect how you feel about yourself, how you see life, and how you approach the future. That's why even when you lay down at night, you can't rest, because your body is still playing repeat of a narrative of things that aren't even there anymore. But your body's reacting because it's still going on in your head. But they say if for 21 days you can change your